Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Rankin Mon Valley Pittsburgh section of the National Council of Negro Women. My name is Patricia Bluette, and I am the section's corresponding secretary. We also have Alice Paler Days, and she's a member of our section's political committee. And we'd like to thank all of you for participating in our previous programs, and we hope you will join us again today with your questions by calling 412 853 8206. It's February, and as we celebrate Black History Month, we welcome the Black Political Empowerment Project, or B-PEP. Our guests today are Tim Stevens. He is the chairman and the CEO of B-PEP, along with Shayla Holmes and Roy Blankenship. The program today satisfies the National Council of Negro Women's core programs of social justice and civic engagement. The program also supports the National Council of Negro Women's Good Health Wins initiative. Before we begin the show, we'd like to introduce our special guests by reading their bios. Miss Alice?
Yes, thank you. And I have the pleasure of introducing the guests. The first guest we have is Tim Stevens. And Tim is he launched the Black Political Empowerment Project back in 1986, better known as B-PEP. It's a nonpartisan community collaborative which advocates on behalf of the Black community with the mission that African Americans vote in each and every election. He also serves as the co-convener of the Coalition Against Violence and instrumental in setting a foundation for the Corporate Equity Inclusion Roundtable. Tim was elected president of the Pittsburgh NAACP in 1994, and 2 years later, he helped to broker meetings to lay groundwork for the August Wilson Center for African American Culture. Mr. Stevens has been privileged to receive numerous awards, which includes the Couriers Men of Excellence Legacy Award, the Drum Major for Justice Award from Homer S. Brown Law Association, and the Keepers of the Flame Award from the Legacy Arts Project, just to name a few. Tim is both a lifetime and Gold Life member of the NAACP and a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And Tim has been very busy. The next person I'd like to introduce is Shayla Holmes. Shayla is a respected and influential figure in the world of community activism. Known for her unwavering commitment to improving the lives of young people and creating safer, more equitable communities. She works for a variety of organizations such as Black Political Empowerment Project, Coalition Against Violence and Corporate Equity, and Inclusion Roundtable. Shayla grew up on the east side of Pittsburgh, East Liberty, Hazelwood. She has a strong focus on violence prevention, youth mentorship, diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental health awareness, and resources for the Black community. Welcome, Shayla. Our last guest is going to be Roy Blankenship. Roy is employed at Black Political Empowerment Project as a community organizer. As a community organizer, Roy has been instrumental in keeping community residents engaged and involved in civic engagement and voter empowerment. He is a resident of the Knoxville section of Pittsburgh and a member of the Knoxville Community Council, Stowe Rocks Community Health Center, Mad Dad's member, and vice president of Zone 3 Public Safety Council. Welcome, Tim, Shayla, and Roy. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for joining us for Black to help us celebrate Black History Month.
Thanks for
Thank
having us. We
Yes, thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having us.
Okay, Tim, take us back to 1986. And what made you initially want to launch a nonpartisan community collaboration to advocate on behalf of the Black community? And what was the racial climate back then?
Well, believe it or not, in the mid 80s, it's hard to think this, but in the mid 80s, we actually did not have even one African American on city council. We did have African Americans in the past on city council going back some years, but we no longer did. The Democratic Party did not nominate an African American, did not renominate Bill Robinson at the time, nor did they choose to nominate Kathy Irvis, the wife of the former Speaker of the House, Kay Leroy Irvis, or anyone else. And Elmer McClung, who ran as a Republican, was not elected. So we actually had the distinction of being one of the key major cities in the eastern part of the United States where there were no blacks on city council. I was in a class at the time where people were asked to name a complaint in life. The complaint could be uh, a new house, a new job, new apartment, new car, new relationship, or whatever. I chose at the time to deal with the issue around me in the city of Pittsburgh that there were no blacks on city council. And we launched B-PEP, the Black Political Empowerment Project. It was just a concept that African Americans should vote in each and every election, that those in political office should expeditiously and effectively meet the needs, aspirations, and concerns. And thirdly, that African Americans see the connection between voting and political results. So it came out as a personal upset of mine with regards to the political environment. A lot of, if you think about it nationally and locally, a lot of organizations and movements come out of responding to a negative situation. Little did I know that now the course that I was in was called Excellence. And you were, again, to create a project. Most of the people had enough sense to end their project after the 10-week course. But uh, we are in our going into in May 21st, our 39th year of existence for the project. So
Mm,
that's pretty cool, actually.
mm, mm. So Tim, what is the mission and the vision of the Black Political Empowerment Project? What was your vision, and how much of that vision have you accomplished?
Well, as I said, the mission of B-PEP, we often now when we're in community meetings and situations, people, it's been out so long that some people are actually repeating the mission that we vote in each and every election. Are we
Mhm,
doing that as Black people? Obviously not. But the mission remains. We must keep the possibility out there. We must keep the statement of possibility out there.
mhm,
And we must live into the possibility of Black people voting in each and every election. What I say to people is, can you imagine what would happen in Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, and the nation if every Black person voted in each and every election? I mean, think about that. Think
mhm,
about that. because some elections are won only by a few votes. If you think about it, Fetterman, when he was mayor, I believe his election was won by, I believe he said one vote.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember the 2000 uh, Bush versus Gore campaign, after 1 month of legal and political shenanigans and maneuverings, George W. Bush, was declared the winner, the winner. We're trying to get out of winter, by the way. Declared the winner by 537 votes in Florida. And one of the things that I urge people to do, to never listen to anyone who says your vote does not count.
Right.
530 less than the number of black folks within blocks of my home and blocks of anyone's home that I'm talking to. That was one state, but that state decided the election.
Yeah.
So we have to keep urging, keep promoting the concept, the mission, keep speaking it into existence, and keep one of the things that we've talked about in a couple of our recent B-PEP meetings is how can we find new ways to market that concept and make it real to people. One of the things we talked about in one of our recent meetings, we want to begin very soon to send out to social media at least 1 or 2 statements a week related to the power of the vote, why we should vote, why or how we can impact our issues through the voting process. So we want to begin that very soon and have it weekly.
Mhm.
We are about to send out 2 months before the primary, which is April 23rd. We'll have at least 20 buses out for a minimum of 2 months. We will also do the same 2 months before the November 5th general election, presidential election.
Mhm.
And on the side of the buses, this is all related to how we try and make our mission a reality. Save democracy hyphen vote hyphen while you still can. Because there are movements afoot in this nation, political leaders in this nation who do not want to see black people vote, do not want to see brown people vote, do not want to see young people vote, people with disabilities, the LGBTQI community. What if all those communities came together and
Yeah.
literally voted in each and every election? We would have the power to put people in office. We would have the power to take people out of office. We need to make that a reality in the minds of black people. A lot of folks seem to run around and, again, thinking that their vote does not count. Some people, because of the antics of one major political leader in this country, feel like there's no hope. Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive. And we still, the decades later, we must do that and create the hope as a reality.
Amen.
Well, we do have more African Americans voting now than we did 10 years ago.
Okay.
We
Hold
also
on,
have
hold on.
many more mayors.
Before you answer that, there is a caller on the line. So let's get the
Oh,
caller
I'm
in.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we
Go
have a
ahead.
caller on the line. Do we have a caller?
I think she just left it. Oh, Gladys.
Okay. All right. You can go ahead.
One of the
Okay.
things I was saying was we have a number of black mayors now in Western Pennsylvania that we did not have 39 years ago. I mean, it's an amazing
Exactly.
number of black mayors, including, of course, for the first time, many of us on this call thought we may never have seen or would see a black mayor. And Ed Gainey made a liar out of all of us who thought that way. We just met with him yesterday for an hour and a half. Roy was at the meeting with several of our community partners. One of the things we do as B-PEP, we actually initiated this quarterly series of conversations with the mayor. And we have added many of our, many of our community partners, it's now called the activist quarterly meeting, I think it's called,
Mm-hmm.
where we have partners from the Urban League. We're sitting beside the NACP president, Dalen Davis, who we speak together usually a few times a week. The Urban League uh, policy director, John
Carlos.
Ukenray, was in the meeting. Carlos hasn't been in the meeting for a while, but John represents Ukenray. At the Urban League, we have the Abolitionist Law Center. We have, for instance, Miracle from
One Hood.
One Hood. We have, who else is in the room, Roy? Some of our other partners.
An APA.
Alliance for Police Accountability. And so we have and the CPRB, Citizen Police
There
Review
has
Board.
been some progress.
Yes, and we have, in the past few years, B-PEP has advocated for many police reform changes out of our political process. Mayor Peduto committed to 21 out of 24 that we sent to him some time ago. I sat on the mayor's task force for police reform under Peduto. And what we're doing now, Dalen and I spent a total of probably, I think it has to be 8 hours. Shayla was on once for us with a few hours. And we've had, Dalen and I have spent 4 different sessions, the NACP president, Dalen Davis, going over the responses from the current administration to the police reform pieces that came out of the task force. What we did recently, I think it was maybe Monday, we sent over to the city the commentary from us as community activists to the status of those changes that have been or proposed by the task force and those that have been begun to be implemented. So those are some of the movement in areas of difficulty. Some of you may have seen the press conference of Wednesday evening in Homewood at the CEA, Community Empowerment Association, where the B-PEP president, APA president, Brandy Fisher, and I, as chairman of B-PEP, joined with attorney Todd Hollis and the community. Roy was sitting with us as a community organizer to have a showing of the Jim Rogers tasing. The issue of police brutality and police misconduct remains a big issue with Black people in Pittsburgh. And what we did was, as a result of that, in our meeting yesterday, hour-and-a-half meeting with the mayor, the chief of police, Larry Scarato, safety director, Lee Schmidt, and their administration, we discussed collectively our concerns about that tasing death over a bicycle, which is just an outrageous death. If you saw the video, you'd be emotionally disturbed after watching it. And one of the things that we advocated in our meeting yesterday, and the mayor and the chief and the safety director said, because of the death of Jim Rogers, I think it was October 13th, 2021, that they have made changes. One major one was that one must be taken when they're tased directly to the closest hospital. Mr. Rogers sat in the back of the van in convulsions for 17 minutes. Took 38 minutes to get to the hospital because of how slowly they were driving. And they ended up at Mercy Hospital, passing 3 hospitals that were much closer to Harriet Street, where the tragedy occurred. They also have made it, they have increased the training on every officer in terms of the tasing, how they handle those cases. They must call the EMS, emergency services, in Pittsburgh when there is such a thing. So there are medical people there on the scene immediately. We're also looking at other policy procedures that the city has already begun to implement and will be reviewing. Those are just, and we also had this year, and Roy helped us in the coordination of this. We had 5 community meetings with the new police chief, Larry Scarato, in different neighborhoods. They were about 2-hour sessions,
Yes, sir.
and we had the opportunity for the citizens. They were sponsored by B-PEP, Alliance for Police Accountability, the Urban League of Greater Pittsburgh, and APA and the NACP. And we hosted in 5 locations, and the chief usually was there about 2 hours to answer the.
I think we've lost him.
Yeah, I think we have a
One of our
problem with
other,
his.
if you want,
Oh, there he is. Okay.
that's
Okay.
okay.
I have
I
another
can
question
continue
for you.
later on. I want to make sure.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Pat.
And the
Okay.
generational leadership.
The Pittsburgh Racial Justice Summit is normally held in conjunction with the Dr. Martin Luther King Day. This year it was postponed due to the weather conditions. Can you tell us
And
the
the health
purpose
of our
then?
people. Several of our
But
key
can you tell us
people
the purpose?
got ill.
Okay. Can you tell us the purpose of the event and can you give us the new date?
Again, this is a situation where something negative, in fact, a death of Johnny E. Gamage, Jonny E. Gamage, occurred October 12th, 1995. It was during my first 4 year as president of the NACP Pittsburgh branch. And we never know when we call for big community meetings. Harvey Adams, the former president, was with me at the time I asked him to be, and he accepted being our police affairs chair. Vic Volchek, with whom I just communicated, I think yesterday, at the time was executive director of the ACLU in Pittsburgh, now the legal director for ACLU statewide. We called together a meeting of citizens, and a few hundred people came out to the YWCA downtown, not knowing that that would lead to the creation of the Black and White Reunion. And we had a few years later, we initiated our racial justice summits, which are now called Pittsburgh Racial Justice Summit versus the Summit Against Racism is what the original name was. We're now into our 26th year, and the summit, which again, as you mentioned, Pat, occurs normally on the Saturday after Martin Luther King Day. This year will be Saturday, February 24th, virtually, and it will be from 1:00 p.m. on Saturday the 24th till 6 p.m. And our theme is from othering to bridging, reconnecting the social change. The Black and White Reunion was born as an attempt to bridge the Black and white community, particularly around police issues, and to find ways of dealing with police brutality. That was the initial seed of the Black and White Reunion. In recent years, we've had 30, 35 workshops over the weekend. This one is structured differently this year, but normally we've had 30, 35 or so workshops. Matter of fact, last year, Shayla Roy and Reverend Michael Day, who was our Youth Peace Summit coordinator at the time, led one of those workshops on issues across the board with regard to human rights issues, civil rights issues, women's rights issues, the LGBTQAI community issues, violence issues, climate, whatever. It's expanded dramatically over the years. But the issue is building bridges. And as you know, all of us on this call, that bridges are being broken every day in this country. So this theme this year is from othering to bridging, reconnecting for social change. So the theme in general is how do we deal with social change? And we've always done it at the beginning of the year following Martin Luther King's birthday as a re-energizing moment for those of us who are activists and human rights activists and whatever to re-excite our energy, reconnect ourselves to our commitments to make change throughout Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and Pennsylvania, and sometimes the nation. It's a multicultural initiative, the Racial Justice Summit of that we have every year. So we hope that people will come with us and be with us. And you can, I'm having trouble actually finding, you can just, again, connect with bpep.net and we'll connect you with the Racial Justice Summit. You can call us again at our 412-212 number, 8775, with regard to the Racial Justice Summit, which again will be February 24th, Saturday, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. virtually, will not be in person this year.
And that includes African Americans and Caucasians.
Everybody. Building bridges.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
This is our 26th year. And
Okay.
again, it came out of the death of Johnny Gamage. So I want to remind people always, when there are tragedies in our community, tragedies in our lives, sometimes personal lives, that sometimes those moments lead to creativity, to positivity, to possibilities that we never would have thought of. The summits that we've had wouldn't have been in existence without the death of Johnny Gamage. Also, just to give people some hope around these negative moments, that led not only to the creation of the Black and White Reunion, it led to the energy around the creation of the Citizen Police Review Board, members of whom, the staff, were in the room yesterday with our meeting with the chief of police and the safety director and the mayor. It led to the Johnny Gamage scholarships every year, where 2 or 3 African-American students or students of color receive scholarships in law school, for their law school, either at Pitt or Duquesne University. It led to the first consent decree in the entire nation, where the federal government oversaw for 5 years the Pittsburgh Police Bureau from, I think it was 1975 to 80, let me see, I think it was 82. It was 5 years. And what we did, from another thing that we were involved in very, very closely, was the Jordan Miles case. That was January 12th, 2010, when he was beaten by Pittsburgh police, going from his grandmother's house to his mother's house, or mother's house to his grandmother's house. He was beaten by 3 white plainclothes police officers. That became a major event that led to the consent decree that ended on September 13th, I want to say 1982, I think it was. And that actually created a new leader in our younger community, Brandy Fisher, because we were together in the early meetings around fighting for justice for Jordan Miles. And one of the meetings, I said, why don't we let this young lady lead these meetings? And somebody knew. And who knew that that would create a very lionesque person, now known as Brandy Fisher, the president and founder of the Alliance for Police Accountability. So you never know in life what creates a new organization, a new movement, or whatever.
So with the new organizations and everything that comes out of the police brutality, are you seeing more or is it less?
Seeing what?
Is there more, the police brutality? Has it lessened or is it continuing?
I think it's lessened in Pittsburgh, absolutely. There's still incidents that we have to deal with, APA deals with. But I think the attitude of the force has been evolving. We are still molding that. That's why we have these quarterly meetings with the mayor. We are continuing to advocate, motivate, and agitate. But because one of the things that we advocate in B-PEP is intergenerational leadership. And that's why we have on this call Shayla Holmes, our Youth Peace Summit coordinator and Corporate Equity Inclusion Roundtable executive assistant, and Roy E. Blankenship Jr., our community organizer. So if you will, I'd like them to comment on what we're doing from a younger perspective.
Well,
and
you
we're
know what?
proud to have
I'm glad.
part of our
I'm glad.
staff.
I'm glad you brought that up because we do have a few questions for that. Alice, do you want to take the first question for Shayla?
I think there's a caller on the line. Oh, okay, for Shayla. Yes, Shayla. Can you talk a little bit about how the Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable was born and developed out of the Coalition Against Violent Programs? And are you seeing any success? Are you seeing less, or is it about the same, or what are you seeing?
Yes, again, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure working with Tim Stevens, Roy, all of our B-PEP family. We get a lot of work done. And
Mm-hmm.
just to get back to your question, I am the executive assistant of Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable. Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable was initially formed because we noticed that there were no Black and Brown people, in higher up positions, which we call the C-suite, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Your managerial positions, supervision positions, such
Mm-hmm.
as, really. Like the president, vice president, those kind of positions. So we've seen that as, an issue. And,
Mm-hmm.
we basically thought that it would really be beneficial to not only black and brown people, but to these companies, if we really, started highlighting, the fact that we are an asset, when we do get hired in these positions. And we've seen that, tremendously
And we
with
work harder.
yes, absolutely. When you work hard, yes, but we've seen that tremendously. We have a lot of wonderful members that are a part of our Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable, which we call CEIR, and many of them, started off at some lower level positions and were able to work their way up through those companies.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we looked at it as, if more Black and Brown people are working, making livable wages,
Mm-hmm.
that will initially bring a decrease in a lot of the violence that we've been
Mm-hmm.
seeing in our communities, because we know
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes violence, there's a root cause to violence. People don't just go pick up a gun and go shoot for anything, although we have seen that, right? But mainly, a lot of the violence that happens in the Black and Brown communities, or typically because people are living in poverty, people are really, they don't have good
The
education.
frustration.
Yes,
They're
frustration.
frustrated or angry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They don't have proper food, being brought into those neighborhoods. So yeah, we know that there's a list of different things. And we got together as a roundtable, which I just recently, 3 years ago, joined CEIR. And, it's truly a pleasure because now we have our survey that we just recently launched, which I'll be talking about briefly, and then our website, www.b-pep.net/jobs. And if you
Mm-hmm.
go to that website, we have partnered with many different companies and organizations, basically saying, hey, these places are hiring, many places have trainings, trade schools, different things like that, where they could teach people the skill sets that they need to move forward. And I truly believe personally that if more Black and Brown people are working and able to take care of their families, that we will really begin to see a decrease in a lot of the
Oh, of
community
course we would.
violence.
Yes, yes, we would. Mm-hmm.
Shayla, please, can you tell us something about the peace summits and the youth mentoring programs that you have been working on with our younger generation?
Yes, absolutely. So I am the Peace Summit coordinator for our Coalition Against Violence. Coalition Against Violence, we call CAV. Again, was birthed out of just seeing a tremendous increase in violence in our Black and Brown communities. And one thing that I truly believe is violence is preventable. You know, anywhere that I go, I say this often because it is, right? And violence is something that if we, again, put ourselves in a better position, you know, as a Black community, we can begin to see those decreases. So
Mhm.
I, last year, started having our community peace summits. Prior to me coming on board, we were having peace summits within our schools, and we are launching that again as well. But the community peace summits was really just a moment for us to highlight our strategies for change document, which is a powerful document that was again, I was not around for at the time of its creation, but I proudly go out and, you know, really promote this document because I truly believe in the strategies that are in this document. And
Mhm.
I just literally every month, we would come up with a topic, myself, Tim, Roy, he has been great at being one of our presenters. And, you know, we started contacting different locations, community centers. You know, we've had many community members say, hey, how can we, you know, help with these summits? And we had our very first summit, February of last year, very first community peace summit, I should say. And we had that at the UPMC Neighborhood Center right in East Liberty. And we
Oh,
talked about different things such as violence against women and girls, you know, youth violence, gun violence reduction. And we had some very powerful speakers, including a mother who had lost 3 of her sons to gun
oh,
violence. So we
oh.
really just want to highlight not only the strategies for change document, but how can we put action behind a
Mhm.
lot of the things that we discuss at our summits. And we are in the process of launching off again, not only community peace summits, but again, in school peace summits. So we have Penn Hills High School, Linton Middle School, Westinghouse. We even are getting out into Aliquippa area now because they have
Mhm.
seen such an increase in violence as well. So
Mhm.
we're going to continue to do these summits, and you know, we pretty much hit a lot of communities last year, and we're just going to continue to hit those same communities and even more until we start to see that decrease.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Now we don't want to leave Roy out, so let's see if we can get him in. Roy, as a community organizer for the B-PEP program, where do you concentrate your efforts in reaching out to the community, and how do you go about doing that?
My outreach and the outreach of B-PEP, we're hyper focused on our inner city communities, and that's mostly the highly populated African American communities such as Northside, Hill District, Homewood,
Mhm.
Wilkinsburg, and those areas that are closer toward the inner city, but with keeping in mind that we are extended out into the boroughs, which are the Braddocks and the Homesteads, Rankins, and further points, Pitcairn, and also our work extends even outside of the city to county areas such as New Ken, Coriopolis, and places as such. I see us as, and my position with the outreach, it's more or less to make sure that I share with social media. We have our BPEP Facebook page. We have our BPEP website. But by me attending various partnering organizations events or searching up area events that I know that community members or community partners might be having, I make sure I show up there to show that BPEP is interested in providing resources and information. And
Mhm.
most people, because of Tim's wonderful work and the other my elders past work with BPEP, as he said, we're going into 39 years. Because of the tenure of BPEP, a lot of people, when they see us sort of walk into the room, I can be walking downtown across a block and somebody might stop me and say, hey, brother, I'm going through this. And a lot of our information now is starting to come in through referrals.
Oh,
So people are reaching out to us through referrals. Um,
well, can you tell us a little bit about the program we build in Pittsburgh together?
yes.
What is that about?
Actually, that rebuilding together Pittsburgh was my prior employment. When I started with BPEP, I was working in the field of community development, which
Okay.
for most that don't know what community development is, the community development spends anywhere from your housing to resources for your housing, your quality of life, your community and neighborhood, even rental and the business districts of a neighborhood. So if you look at your neighborhood's buildings and infrastructure and things of that nature, that's usually what community development focuses on.
Right, right.
Now,
Okay.
with B-PEP being what B-PEP is a civic and social justice network and program, and it focuses on, I want to say, the heart and the spirit of our community citizens and people, community development, and I want to say our civic and social justice. A lot of people don't make that connection, but they go together. And as that little phrase goes, rebuilding together. In order to make a community whole, you need all parts of that community
The
and
whole
all entities working in that community to work together
That's true.
to bring the proper resources without lack of information to them.
That's true.
That's where B-PEP brought me in with my knowledge to help bridge that gap, and I like to say that I've been with B-PEP for 4 years, and with Tim charging me with the intergenerational leadership of making sure that I expand our knowledge to my generation, share it with my children, and Shayla being a younger generation than myself, um, it's incumbent upon me to make sure that the message and all the hard work that's been done for the 39 years, and I want to say from the times of slavery till now, for all of our African American community, that this message doesn't get dropped. There's a lot of apps and things happening, as Tim mentioned. This presidential election, each year the system finds a new way to try to pull us off of unifying.
Now, before we went on the air, Tim and Shayla and Roy, you guys were talking about some other programs that you're involved with, and so now this is the opportunity for you to share that information with all the rest of us.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to go over a few things that I think that is noteworthy to the community. B-PEP in the last 2 years, we've been working on getting a street in the Hill District renamed, and especially
Oh,
Joe. You guys are familiar, and those that may not be familiar with Miss Alma Speed Fox.
yes.
Yes, it's currently and affectionately known as the mother of civil rights in our region, and especially in our city. She was the first Black woman to get the key to the city of Pittsburgh. You know,
Right.
she's done various things in order to help the progress and rights of the women's movement and also empowering communities. She was very, very instrumental in showing that Black women can own property. We work out of her office at the Freedom Unlimited building, which we're very proud to call home. It's right in the center of the Hill District, and it has a rich history, that building, from housing the NAACP.
So you guys are going to name a street after her?
Yes, ma'am, and I'm getting right to that. Kirkpatrick Street, if you guys are familiar with
Oh, yes, yes.
well,
I
we
am.
we figured in a city like our own, there's not too many African American named streets. There are
Right.
shorter divisions and shorter blocks there have been, but we worked on this project to get the expanse of Kirkpatrick Street from Bedford Avenue to the bridge in Southside, Fifth Avenue, the whole
Really?
honorarily named after Miss Alma, and it,
Oh, that is awesome.
and it will be honorarily named Alma Speed Fox Boulevard.
Okay.
Oh,
So please
great.
have African American
Great.
as a boulevard in Pittsburgh. Yes.
Okay.
I
Very
know, I'm
good.
sorry. That's
Okay.
just a highlight for the work that being with this organization has given me a lot of, I want to say, pride within my culture and work that we're able to do. As Tim said, he started a project some 39 years ago, and it's affecting the lives of generations now.
Exactly.
Project moving.
Now,
So,
what are some of the volunteer opportunities available for people who are interested? How
uh,
can they?
well, as Tim has already mentioned, we have our B-PEP website, the www.bpep.net. And also there's also the phone number to the office, which you can put that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and also we have a Facebook page. We do have an Instagram also. So we do
Okay.
have, and we are there, or you can just simply Google us. And also another very important thing that I wanted to make mention as community organizer is that we've been working with the Jail Oversight Board on the Allegheny County Jail. Us, along with our partnering
Mm.
organizations, we were able to shepherd the warden into finding his way out of Allegheny County. After the numerous deaths of our citizens in that jail, we all, as our advocate community, said no more. Those people may have had a conviction or they may be housed for a reason, it still does not mean that they're not humane. So
Mm.
yesterday I presented at the Jail Oversight Board and a letter that B-PEP has constructed for the Jail Oversight Board. And it was based upon the organization RAND, guided through the University of Pittsburgh in 2023. They came up with the Allegheny County Racial Disparity Survey. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this survey is very comprehensive in nature, and I recommend that if anyone wants to see that, please connect to our BPEP webpage, and we will have that survey actually on the page where you'll be able to access that information. Also, there was another large survey done on the reason people were passing away and the conditions of the Allegheny County Jail. But BPEP has strongly suggested through the form of advocacies and letters to these political entities that we are here and as humans, and especially the African American population, we're not standing for it. And we want to see a different turn of results.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
also something to
Do we
mention.
have do we have a caller on the line?
Okay.
Is there a caller on the line? No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But we know what we need to get. We have another question for all three of our guests.
Yes.
What does Black History Month mean to you?
I guess I'll
Who
start
wants to
since
go?
I'm the I always say B-PEP is 39. I'm only 35, so so it's an honor, to be a
What?
part of such a great
Well,
organization.
how old is Tia?
Oh,
Oh, whoa, whoa. We don't
now
go there.
We
we're
won't
getting
answer that.
personal here. I'm a little bit over than 39.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead, Sharon. Tell us what Black History Month means to you.
Yes, thank you. Again, before I say that, just make sure you check out our websites. We have some really great things that we've been working on. We have our Black Satisfaction and Retention Survey also, which basically speaks to why Black people are leaving Pittsburgh and why
Mm-hmm.
some Black people come back to Pittsburgh. So be looking out for that. But yeah, we just have some great things coming up. Also tune into our radio show tomorrow where I co-host, and I'll be giving some more information
Okay,
about some
great.
of the great things. That's a WGN radio station, and don't have all the info, but go to our website and you'll
Okay.
find that on there. But Black History Month means everything to me. My grandmother, my Nana, she grew up in the South, and she was just a strong Black woman. I
Mm-hmm.
took after my grandfather with his high yellowness, I always say. But no, I'm just proud to be able to not only share my grandmother's history that she instilled in me, but again, being and working around Tim Stevens and some of the great people within B-PEP, such as Roy, Lorraine, Stephanie. It's truly an honor, and I learn something from them every day, and it makes me even more proud to be Black. So
Very good.
we have a long way to go, but we have come a long way, and we can never forget those that have paved that way for us. So that's what it means to me.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy, we're going to let you go next, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Tim Stevens.
Yes, Black History Month means to me three words: legacy, tradition, and God willing, a future. Uh, we as a people have seen it all. There is no, I want to say, race on this planet that has experienced the trials and tribulation the African American populace has.
Mhm.
The
That's
struggles that we endure, knowing that we're fighting daily against a system diametrically opposed to slaughter, kill, and steal our young, our elders, and our lives away from us. As a black man, I've experienced so many hurdles in my life that where I wanted to cry so many nights, and I know
Mhm.
that at 48 years old, I have to suffer from traumas that was systematically given.
That's right.
So being black and Black History Month means to me, oh, it's just another sign of the system because it's a 28-day month. Oh, we're lucky it's 29. Got
29. This year.
one extra day, guys. But
We're
but
leaping.
but but it's the little nuances as such that never let you forget who
Mm.
are, where your
Where
birth.
you came from.
That's right. And so those of us that are alert and aware, it is our duty. It is incumbent upon us to, if you see a condition that has held us and you know it's right for sustaining us, you must get involved and you
Yeah.
must be a part of this. So Black History Month means it's a new day and let's get it, y'all.
Okay. And Mr.
Okay.
Tim Stevens, same question to
Well,
you. What does Black History Month mean to you?
speaking of get involved, some of you, I don't know if Roy or Shayla remember or knew the name Bev Smith. She was
Yes.
on
Yeah.
our airways for decades in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Sure was.
Yes.
And
Mm,
one of her expressions was get involved.
Hmm.
Remember that, Pat and
yes. I
Alice?
do
That,
remember.
yeah. Yeah.
Get involved. And I want to acknowledge our civic engagement coordinator, Lorraine Cross,
Yes.
who wanted to make sure, because I said, why aren't you on this show? She said, I wanted to make sure we're doing our intergenerational thing.
Yes.
And we wanted to make sure that two of our key leaders, Shayla and Roy, were on this call. But Lorraine helped coordinate this with all of you, as you
Mhm.
know. And one of the things we want to talk about, by the way, is Roll to the Polls, where we provide free transportation in each and every election with our partnership from the county with the CISP program. But in terms of your direct question, what's troubling to me in 2024? Some people don't want to acknowledge that Black people existed.
Mm.
Mm,
People don't want to acknowledge what Black folks came through to even
Right.
get to the behind moment that we are as a group of people, as a race of people in this country. Some people don't
mm,
want the history of Black troubles and Black struggles to be known to little white
Mm.
children and Asian
Mm.
children
mhm.
or whatever.
Yes.
Or
That
even our own children, Tim, because that is what
that
inspired.
too.
I
Good
was
point,
young,
Roy.
see my family's struggles, so it made me want to
Mhm.
do better. If
So
I
we're at a
was,
crucial moment.
yes,
We are.
yep,
We're at a crucial moment where some people want to deny. We have a lot to celebrate in America, in the United States of America, but we have a lot to overcome
mm,
in America, as Dr. King said.
Mhm.
That's why we celebrate him,
yes,
born on January 15th. We cannot let those in America, those in Pennsylvania, those in Pittsburgh,
mm,
who would love for Black and brown people and the LGBTQI community to never vote in any election. There are people who literally have been trying to put every obstacle that they can in the way for Black people in America and Black people in Pennsylvania. What we must do with our mission of voting in each and every election is create a new history going forward for Black people,
yes,
a new powerful history where we actually help people in to office, put them in, we help take them out. And we have to gain that level of respect from those in power.
mm-hmm,
But we cannot
Mhm.
disempower ourselves as we celebrate Black History Month, we cannot talk about just those who came before. We have to talk about those who are here now and
Mm.
those who are coming
Right.
after us, so
Right.
they know the powerful people that we are and can be and are yet even to be. But one way to do that is we use the power that Dr. King talked about, that the NACP talked about since 1909, since your organization has spoken of from its beginning with Mary McLeod Bethune.
Right.
This thing called power is not given to us. We must take it and we must keep it and we must nurture it. That is what Black power should be. That's what Black history should be. We should create it every day and nurture it every day.
Wow,
Pretty.
this is fantastic. If you remember at the beginning, I told you this hour is going to fly by, and with all
It
this
has flown.
valuable and important information that you gave us, and I mean, there's still so much more, but we have to get ready to close down our program. So
Oh
before
my.
we
But I
say,
just want to say, let me just say
before
one
we thank our
thing
guests
Yeah.
to,
sharing on the
to
program,
Tim.
before we go ahead, Alice.
I just want to just say one thing to the two guys. I am so glad to see Black men step up to the plate.
Mm.
Right.
And
Okay.
because you and Tim, you got to bring B-PEP out here to these little boroughs.
These little
But yeah,
burrows.
can I say something
Bring
real quick?
Absolutely.
real
We
fast.
are working that currently now. I just had an advocacy out, Coriopolis. Just
Coriopolis.
I did a
Okay.
mediation for a family.
Okay.
Also connecting with the NAACP president out in Coriopolis. And,
Okay.
and we do have a plan on moving further east, Braddock, Homestead, and
Yes.
Karen. So
Okay, well, thank you. So before we thank our guests for appearing on our program, we would like to say that Good Health Wins, the Women's Immunization Network, is our commitment to building an army of good health champions who understand the importance of immunization across the lifespan. Through our network of trusted messengers and grassroots activities, our goal is to increase vaccination rates, help remove barriers, and increase access to vaccinations and good health. Um, we would also like to thank our listening audience for tuning in, and we invite all of you to join the National Council of Negro Women by calling 412-867-9641 for a membership brochure. And don't forget about B-PEP. They also have their information out there, and they need volunteers also. We need your help
Absolutely.
to our mission at the National Council of Negro Women is we need your help to educate, advocate, and positively impact families in the community in the Rankin, Mon Valley, and Pittsburgh area, and all across the United States. Remember, our program airs on the first Friday of every month at 6 o'clock p.m. Don't forget, remember to get your flu shot, your RSV shot, and your COVID shot, and stay well. And thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you. Good night. God bless.